Hi, this is Claire from Papertrey, and today I'm going to show you how I made this card for the third Altenew video challenge. The challenge was to use either red or the theme of thanks. So for my card, I went with red. So we're going to be starting out with this Beautiful Day stamp set from Altenew, and we're going to be taking, it's a layering stamp set, so we're going to be taking one of those layers for the flower. I think it's the middle layer if you don't count the outline. And we're going to be stamping it onto a craft card base. Technically, you could probably skip this step because you can't really tell if the panel is there when you look at the finished product, but I wanted to show you what a pretty background I made anyway, so I kept it in the video. Plus, I'm pretty detail-oriented, so I wanted that little bit of detail for the card. So I just die cut that using a stitched rectangle die, and now we're going to get on to the pretty background. So I'm going to be making two card fronts at once, and these are going to be vertical cards, so each card would be 4 1/4 wide. And so my vellum is 8.5 wide to accompany that, and then instead of being 5.5 inches long, as a typical A2 card would be, it's about 6 inches long, and I'm masking off the difference with some masking tape. I want a little bit of a border, so later I can use that border to score, fold over, and then use it to kind of hide my adhesive, because vellum is notorious for being really difficult to adhere down without the adhesive showing. So I just use that little border on the top and the bottom to score, fold over, and then adhere behind the card like this. So that's, if you do enough pre-planning, that's the way you can get around the issue of having the adhesive and the vellum show. Alright, so now I'm going to stamp my outline images from the stamp set with Versamark ink, and I apologize, in the video it's hard to tell where exactly I'm stamping. It looks like I'm stamping at random, which, I mean, I am, but I can tell where I'm randomly stamping. In the video you can't tell. It's just from my angle, I can see the shine that the Versamark gives off. However, if you're doing this and you still find it difficult to tell where things are being stamped, then what you can do is stamp 1 or 2 of the images and then cover it with embossing powder, then stamp 1 or 2, cover it with embossing powder, and that embossing powder will allow you to see where you're stamping. So you can do that if you still have trouble telling where you're stamping. But I'm lazy and I didn't want to have to stop every few steps, so I just did it in all one big chunk. So now we're going to do some watercoloring. Keep in mind that this is vellum, it's not watercolor cardstock, so it's going to warp either way. There's just no way you can get around it. But there are some tips that you can use to kind of minimize the warping. So the first thing is taping it down to a surface like I have here. That helps minimize the warping a bit, and then also kind of pre-planning what look you're going for will help. So what I mean by that is the general rule of thumb for watercoloring is if you want vibrant colors, you use more ink and less water. If you want subtle colors, you use more water and less ink, because the water will dilute the ink and give it a lighter color. So to kind of connect that with the warping, the more water you use, so if you're going for subtle colors, then you will have more warped paper. That's just how it's going to happen, because you have to use more water. If you want bolder colors, though, you'll be using less water, and then you'll have less warping. So that's kind of a way to get around the whole warping thing. I wasn't planning too well, so I had to, the first time I colored my flowers, I just did it too subtly, and I wanted it to be vibrant, so I had to add a second layer, and that meant more water. So my vellum warped more than it would have if I had planned better, but even though my vellum that I used here was pretty cheap, it didn't actually warp too badly. I think taping it down really helps. Alright, so I just cut those 2 panels, and now I'm stamping a sentiment from the same stamp set, and I'm just going to cover it with white embossing powder, then heat emboss it, cut it, and adhere it to the panel when I have everything else adhered. I wanted a sentiment that would pop out but wouldn't really compete with the pretty background that I made. So now that we have that pretty background cut, I'm just going to score it, and I kind of have to match it up with my card because I didn't mask it quite as precisely. Like I was being lazy again, so I didn't mask it precisely. So so now that I have that scored, I just wanted to make sure it fit the card, and it did. So now to adhere the craft panel to go behind it. I adhered it to the front of the card, and then I started adhering the vellum, and then I realized that I was adhering the vellum to the back of the card, so I had to take it off and then put it to the front of the card, but my adhesive was pretty forgiving. But anyway, you can see those panels, the border on the top and the bottom that I used to kind of cover up the adhesive, so you can't see any adhesive from the front of the card. Now I'm just cutting a piece of foam, and I'm going to use that to add my sentiment, to give it a little bit of dimension, and kind of pop out. This foam has adhesive on one side, so I just need to add adhesive to the other side. You can find big packs of these foam sheets at Walmart or Amazon if you want to get them shipped. So those are the two cards, and this is the second card. It's just uses the same panel that we made here and a close-up. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the YouTube comment box, or you can go over to my blog and leave a comment there. I will post the supplies on the YouTube description for this video and then also on my blog. So thanks so much for watching and have a great day. God bless. Bye.